Okay, so today what I'm going to show you is my color mixing, and a lot of you have questions about my mother color. So generally I will start with burnt umber to mass in, and I'll use a little bit of medium as well. In this case it's Merage, but you could use a half and half of walnut oil and mineral spirits, or linseed oil and mineral spirits, whatever you like to thin it out. Now that's what I use for my massing in because I like to keep it quite thin. So I start with the burnt umber, and I'm wiping out with a little cloth my palette knife. I'm using a trowel shaped palette knife. It's about 3 inches long. So now I'll choose one of my blues. In this case it's phthalo blue. It could be ultramarine or it could be both, but anyway, this is like a little mini palette, so I know that there's the blue here and the brown, and I'll just bring them together. And this also serves as a black. It can serve as a black if you like. So from that I'm going to add a yellow. So I'm going to start with Cad Yellow Light. Probably should have added some more here. Just going to squirt out a bit more. I should go over my palette as well. I think I'll do that. So I'll just go over my palette with you before I start. Got Naples Yellow Light, Yellow Ochre, and I believe this is light, Venetian Red, Cad Yellow Light, Cad Yellow Deep, Cad Orange, Cad Red Light. This is Cad Red Deep, which I often have on my palette. Not today though. Transparent Oxide Red, excuse me, makes a really lovely dark with one of your blues. Burnt umber, raw umber, phthalo blue, ultramarine blue, alizarin. These are just some optional colors here that I have, and one is, I don't know what these are, quinacridons, I think, that I used for some florals that I was painting. And this is Venetian, or sorry, this is Viridian, which I use occasionally when I'm painting, and it makes a really nice gray when you mix it with a raw umber or other colors. It can make a really nice gray. It's really nice for snow painting. This is called Manganese Hue, and occasionally I've used it for greens in a spring painting. Green, mixing with a yellow. I think it's really nice for a sky too. And then this is Ivory Black, and generally, if I need it, I'll make a gray from that. Quite often in portraiture, or making a purple that I want neutralized or something. So anyway, getting back to this, I'm going to just set a little bit of yellow here so that I know that's my mini palette. Now I've got the brown and the blue and the yellow. Here's my green. So this makes really a lovely variety of greens, you can see. So if you're painting plein air, you can see the greens here, the variety. And all you have to do, I'm just going to get a paper towel because I'm wiping so much. So it's just a matter of pulling whatever it is that you see that you need. I can make a darker blue or green, by pulling this direction if I want, and so on. Okay, so the next color that I would probably add, but sometimes I'll go straight to the Cad Red Medium, but in any case, I'm going to add a very warmish red or orange there. So you can see now I'm moving I'm going to take a little bit of cad yellow too. You can see here now I'm moving very close to a raw sienna. And so, you know, you can see that in this mother color, how you can pull out and create some different colors. So you wouldn't have to buy raw sienna. You can just use it here. This is also pulling towards an olivey green if I wanted to. So, you know, I wouldn't necessarily, when I'm starting out, be making all of these colors. I would very simply just start with these two and the yellow and then start pulling. Okay, so here's some cad red light right there that I have on my palette. I'll put that there, and you can see now I can make it just a little bit richer if I want. I can make it just a little bit richer, and there is basically the start of my mother my mother color, and this would be the rich shadow color in my portraiture right here, this color. Okay, so this is the shadow family. It's my mother color, but it's always going to be the shadows when I'm painting in portraiture or the figure. So over here now, what I would do is create a skin color if I was painting. Well, this has got a little bit of a skin on it, so what I'll do is I'll just slit that. Must have used it a few days ago. Just open it up, and there's a little bit of Venetian. Now that's a really powerful color, so I'm just going to use a tiny bit. I'm going to go over here to my Gamblin flake white replacement. I often use actual flake lead white, but in this case I've got the Gamblin, which I like to use. Anyway, so I can do this, and I can start pulling, just start pulling these colors into this mix, because what I'm trying to make right off the bat is the lightest color in my skin color. So here, this is really going to carry the light right there. Okay, that little pile. So I can take a little bit more of the yellow ochre, pull it out, and I've got a yellower version of that color, and I can take a wee bit and pull it this direction, and now I've got a pinker version for the pinker areas. And I can grab a little bit of cad red if I want, and make it even pinker if I want. You can even, you know, change up your cad red light to make it a little bit darker. You know, closer to the cad red deep, let's say. It's more like a cad red medium. And I can put that here even. And then I can make something a little redder again. This might, you know, just depending on your model's coloring. And then generally, now this is when I'm painting a portrait. This is my mother color for just, you know, any old painting. But I can also, for my portraiture, I can just take a little bit of, and this is what I usually do, just a little bit of ultramarine and white, just have it sitting there. And when I add it over here to the gray, whoops, that's a little bit dark. Okay, hopefully you can see that, it's pretty lit up. When I bring this over here, you'll see that I'm creating a lovely gray right there. You see that? It looks a little bit blue in the video maybe, but you know, you get your own variations. So when you're painting the head, you know, this would be in the areas underneath the lips, let's say, where the face begins to turn into shadow towards this color. You know, you might see these colors in the skin. You know, sometimes I'll create this color to have some purples. I'll just mix it up. I don't know, whether I want it to lean to blue or red. I'll have a little mix there, but it's there when I need it. And the other wonderful color for portraiture, or anything actually, you'll see it in landscapes too, is the raw umber. So depending on your raw umber, the brand, this happens to be Winsor Newton green shade, I think, which is kind of my favorite one. So you'll see when you add white to it, you can see what it's all about. I often will add a little bit of ochre to it. So this again can be used in those areas in the skin where the head turns into a little bit of not shadow, but just a little cooler temperature. Generally speaking, when you're painting in the light here, these two will not mix, but you would never bring this color, this value, this light family into the dark family. But you may bring a little bit of the shadow family into the light family. And there again, you've created another skin tone. And it may need a little bit of blue in that too. So these are just the colors you're going to play with. What else can I show you? Black and white, of course. Here, this is another portrait color, let's say, but you can see the difference between these two. This one's very, very cool. Could add a little bit of alizarin to that, and then you're getting into the violets. And often you'll see even a little bit of that color, between the eyes, and, so you just, play with it. I think that's just about got it. Naples yellow. Now, a lot of you may start with a color combination that's just a little bit brighter than I like. But here's another one. I sometimes will finish the skin with something a little more lively. So here's a really nice one. Venetian and Naples yellow light. Or Naples yellow with a little bit of cad red, You can see how bright that is. Now that's beautiful. That would be beautiful on a cheek or something like that in place of some of these colors. So, you want to play around with these. I generally stay away from cad yellow and cad red for skin color because to me it's just a little bit not right. It's just not there for me. But that's not to say that I wouldn't use that as a last touch up on a really colorful model, a woman. This is ideal for I like to start this. It's a little more neutral, and then I just pump up the color in the areas like the cheeks, nose, that sort of thing. But again, you can create all kinds of greens from here. There's a really nice spring green. You can tone it down a little bit with some ultramarine because the ultramarine's got red in it, so it's going to create a little bit, that's the third primary, right? You've got red in ultramarine, so that's your third primary when you're making yellow and blue, and then you've got a bit of red. That's why it creates that olivey color. Okay, so you've got your two blues. Here's a phthalo and yellow. See that green? That's a little bit crazy, right? That's a little bit crazy. But what happens when I add black to it? I can tone it down, add a different, there, tone it down a bit, whatever. That's not very good. Maybe add some red, mute it a bit. See how I'm getting an olivey color in there? I can take some ultramarine. That's usually my go-to green to start. That's usually my go-to one to start. And then I'll start pulling it out and making it cooler. Okay. Let's see. Oh, black and yellow makes a really nice green. See, that's kind of an olivey green. And let's say you want it to, you just don't want it to be that. You want it to be a little cooler, a little bluer. You can pull that out. Yellow ochre and blue. Just a horrible color, but you know, maybe you need that one. It's very dull. It's a nice one for background air. Either of these two are airy colors because they're light, and I often use them in place of white when I want to lighten something. And they're opaque as well. What's another one I wanted to show you? Raw umber and cad yellow, deep. Very interesting color. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Like, there's your raw sienna right there. That's it. If you're painting, you know, gold or bronze, or not bronze, but copper or something like that. Do you see how? Look at, there's yellow ochre right there if you don't have it. Very cool. So I think that's got it. I'll show you my brushes. So generally, as you know, many of you know, I like to use the filberts, the Hog's Bristle. This is a number 5 actually. It's the Signet brand by Robert Simmons. This is a number 4. It's a little newer. Filbert again. And this is my other favorite brand. This one I've been using for years and years. It's the silver. This is the long filbert, so you can see the difference. It's very long, very, very long. And I like it. It's kind of a little bit tricky to work with at first, but I like it. It wears down to something like that. So, you know, that's economical in that sense. And again, here's the number 2. And it's the long one. So when it wears down, it becomes a shorter filbert. And this is my, well, I think that's also, yeah, what is that? Oh, that's a little Princeton brush, a 0. I use this one for signing my paintings. So those are my tools. And here I have a little bit of walnut oil. It's just straight walnut oil, because it's just so liquidy that sometimes I'll, you know, because sometimes my paints might be a little bit dry, I'll just use a touch of that just to get it moving. And in this one I have, I think it's linseed with maybe a little bit of mineral spirits in it. This is more viscous, meaning it's thicker, so I will use this in my paint when I want it to move faster, but I don't want to dilute it too much. So they're just here if I need them. And my palette, which is glass, I have a little piece of brown paper actually. You could use a brown paper bag, and the reason that I use a brown paper, I used to have it painted gray, and the reason I've used the brown is because I tend to tone 99% of my paintings in a value similar to this, so it's just easier for me to judge. And I think that's got it. I hope that you found this helpful.